Welcome back to Infidelity Tales Lab. We're incredibly grateful for your support. Before we begin today's tale, tell us, which city or country are you joining us from? We love connecting with our global audience. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. Foundations of Deception. Thomas Sullivan's fingers traced the edge of the classified document on his desk, his mind wandering to the morning's events. The office around him hummed with the quiet efficiency of military intelligence, but something felt off. At 35, he developed an instinct for trouble, honed by 12 years of service analyzing threats to national security. Sullivan, got those threat assessments? Johnson called from across the room. Just finishing up? Thomas's voice carried the authority of someone who'd earned his position through merit rather than connections. He glanced at his watch, 6:45 p.m., another late night at the office. His phone buzzed with a message from Madeline. Working late again? Alex offered to help me with that leaky faucet in the guest bathroom. Thomas's jaw tightened imperceptibly. Alex Rivers, their real estate agent turned best friend, had become an increasingly common presence in their lives. He typed back a brief response. Thanks. Be home by 8. The memory of their first meeting surfaced unbidden. 6 years ago, at Mark Davidson's backyard barbecue, Madeline Cooper had stood out immediately, not just for her auburn hair or infectious laugh, but for the intensity in her eyes when she spoke about her work in pharmaceutical sales. I travel a lot, she'd said, swirling her wine glass. But I believe in making every moment count when I'm home. Their courtship had been swift, decisive, like everything else in Thomas's life. He'd approached it with the same thoroughness he applied to his intelligence work. Background checks had revealed nothing suspicious. Prestigious university, solid career progression, stable family background. Perfect on paper. Alex Rivers materialized in their lives 3 months before the wedding. All expensive watches and perfectly styled dark hair. You need someone who understands property values in this area, he'd insisted, steering them toward the 3-bedroom house in Virginia. Trust me on this? Thomas remembered the day Alex helped them move in. He'd noticed how Alex's hand lingered on Madeline's shoulder while pointing out the kitchen features, but he dismissed it. Military intelligence analysts weren't supposed to be paranoid at home. Mr. Sullivan? Mrs. Patricia Henderson's voice cut through his morning routine. The elderly widow stood among her prized roses, pruning shears in hand. A moment, Thomas paused at his car. Good morning, Mrs. Henderson. I don't mean to pry, but... She glanced at the house. Something's not right with those two. The way they act when you're not around. I appreciate your concern, Mrs. Henderson, but Madeline and Alex are good people. His tone carried a finality that ended the conversation. The first real warning came during a routine security audit. Colonel Richard Barnes's office felt unusually tense that morning. Take a seat, Sullivan. The colonel's face betrayed nothing, but Thomas recognized the subtle signs of concern in his superior's posture. We've detected unusual activity around certain classified files. Nothing's missing, but someone's been probing. Foreign actors? Thomas leaned forward, professional instincts kicking in. That's what we thought initially. Barnes slid a folder across the desk. But the access patterns are peculiar. The attempts originate from within our security perimeter. Thomas opened the folder, his analytical mind already processing possibilities. I'll look into it, sir. That evening, he noticed the changes in Madeline. The new dress she wore, definitely not from her usual shopping spots. The unfamiliar perfume that filled their bedroom cost more than her monthly cosmetics budget. Another business trip? He asked, watching her pack. The company's expanding. Madeline smiled, but something in her expression sparked his analyst's instinct. We're breaking into new markets. Which cities this time? Boston, maybe Chicago. She zipped her suitcase with practiced efficiency. You know how these trips go. They're never quite certain until we're there. Thomas nodded, his mind already cataloging inconsistencies. The way she angled her phone away while texting, the increasing frequency of late-night calls she took in the backyard, the convenient appearances of Alex whenever Thomas worked late shifts. The truth revealed itself on their anniversary, a quiet September morning. Thomas had left work early, planning to surprise Madeline with breakfast. Her voice drifted from their bedroom as he climbed the stairs. Mom, you don't understand. This is bigger than just an affair. Madeline's words froze him in place. That fool works days while his best friend Alex shares my bed. Been together since the wedding. Thomas's hand gripped the stair railing, his knuckles white. The kids? Madeline laughed softly. All his. 3 perfect little anchors keeping Thomas right where we need him. His mind raced through memories of Emma, Michael, and James, 5, 3, and 1-year-old. Their faces, their laughs, their trust in him as their father. His military secrets are worth millions to our buyers. Once the operation's complete, we'll be set for life. Thomas moved silently back down the stairs, his military training taking over. His face revealed nothing, but inside, something fundamental shifted. The trusting husband died in that moment, replaced by something colder, more dangerous. He drove to work, his mind already formulating plans. Colonel Barnes looked up as Thomas entered his office without knocking. Sir, about those security breaches. I believe I know where to start looking. Chapter 2. The Web of Lies. Rachel Martinez watched Thomas from her workstation, her eyes narrowing as he emerged from Colonel Barnes's office. 15 years in cybersecurity, including 5 as a field operative, had taught her to read people. Something had changed in Thomas's demeanor. The shift in his posture, the controlled precision of his movements. Sullivan. She intercepted him at the coffee machine. Got a minute? They found an empty conference room. Rachel closed the door, her expression serious. I've been meaning to talk to you about your wife. Thomas's face remained neutral. What about her? Rachel pulled out her tablet, fingers moving rapidly across the screen. Her travel patterns don't match her company's sales territory assignments. I checked. You've been investigating my wife? His voice carried no accusation, only interest. When you've seen as many infiltration attempts as I have, you develop a sixth sense? Rachel displayed a series of documents. These are records of pharmaceutical sales conferences from the past year. Your wife's supposed to be at each one, but her credit card activity places her elsewhere. Usually at high-end hotels, always with the same companion. Thomas studied the evidence, his analytical mind processing the implications. Alex Rivers, the real estate agent? Rachel pulled up another file. He's not just selling houses, Thomas. Look at these photos. The images showed Alex at various social gatherings, mingling with known arms dealers and suspected intelligence operatives. This one's from 3 months ago. Rachel zoomed in on a particular photo. That man he's talking to? Serbian arms dealer, suspected ties to multiple terrorist organizations. Thomas's voice remained steady. Tell me about the children. Rachel hesitated. I can arrange discrete DNA testing. The lab owes me a favor. No questions asked, no records. Do it. Thomas stood, his decision made. And Rachel? I need surveillance equipment. The kind that won't show up on standard sweeps. The next few weeks passed in a blur of revelations. Each new piece of evidence hit like a physical blow, but Thomas channeled the pain into action. The DNA results confirmed his worst fears. All 3 children were Alex's biological offspring. How long have you known? Thomas confronted his old friend Sean O'Connor at their usual bar. 15 years of friendship hung in the balance. Sean's hesitation told Thomas everything. It's complicated, man. Alex, he has connections. The kind that can make or break careers. So you chose money over loyalty. Thomas's voice carried no emotion. He paid well for information about your schedule, your habits. Sean stared into his beer. I told myself it wasn't really hurting anyone. Thomas stood, dropping cash on the bar. Goodbye, Sean. Later that night, Thomas sat in his home office, reviewing the surveillance footage Rachel had helped him plant. Madeline's voice filled his headphones, discussing operational details with Alex. The buyers are getting impatient. Alex's voice crackled through the speaker. We need to accelerate the timeline. Thomas suspects nothing, Madeline assured him. He's too focused on his precious analyst reports to see what's happening under his nose. Thomas removed the headphones, his expression hardening. In the nursery down the hall, he could hear James crying. The sound twisted something inside him. Love for a child he'd raised, hatred for the deception that created him. He moved silently through the house, entering the nursery. James quieted as Thomas lifted him, tiny hands gripping his shirt. In the dim light, Thomas studied the baby's features, seeing Alex's characteristics that he'd been blind to before. "I may not be your father," he whispered, "but I'll make sure you grow up in a world where betrayal has consequences." Chapter 3. The Breaking Point. The transformation of Thomas Sullivan occurred in careful, measured steps. Each morning, he maintained his routine: kiss Madeline goodbye, tell the children he loved them, drive to work. But beneath the surface, a storm was brewing. Rachel became his anchor, helping him navigate the complex web of surveillance and counterintelligence. They worked late into the night, building a case that would destroy not just Madeline and Alex, but their entire operation. "They're planning something big," Rachel said one evening, reviewing intercepted communications. "Look at these patterns. Increased contact with buyers, large money transfers through shell companies. Show me everything." Thomas's voice carried the intensity of a man focused on revenge. The surveillance devices captured every betrayal. Madeline and Alex's intimate moments in his bed, their discussions about the children's parentage, their plans to sell classified information that would compromise operations across multiple countries. The emotional toll must be overwhelming, Jessica Kane, the trauma counselor Rachel had recommended, observed during one of their sessions. "I feel nothing," Thomas replied, his voice steady. "They killed the man who could feel pain." Jessica studied him carefully. "Your children, they're not mine?" Thomas's interruption carried no heat. "But they're innocent. I'll make sure they're protected when this ends." The surveillance revealed the full scope of Madeline and Alex's operation. They weren't just selling military secrets. They were orchestrating a massive intelligence breach that would compromise ongoing operations in multiple countries. "The buyers are connected to a shadow organization," Rachel explained, showing Thomas the evidence they'd gathered. "They have ties to both criminal enterprises and hostile foreign governments." Thomas spent his nights in the children's rooms, watching them sleep. Emma, with her auburn hair like Madeline's. Michael, showing Alex's features more clearly as he grew. Baby James, innocent of the sins that created him. The breaking point came during a routine evening. Thomas sat at the dinner table, watching Madeline feed James while Emma and Michael argued over toys. "How was work?" Madeline asked, her voice carrying the same warmth she'd used to deceive him for years. "Challenging." Thomas maintained his role perfectly. "We're implementing new security protocols." He caught the flash of interest in her eyes, the slight pause in her movements. Later, he listened through the surveillance feed as she relayed the information to Alex. "They're upgrading security," her voice urgent. "We need to move faster." "The buyers are ready," Alex replied. "1 week. Make sure he doesn't suspect anything." Thomas contacted Colonel Barnes immediately. "Sir, I need to meet with you. It's about those security breaches." The colonel's office was secure, swept for bugs twice daily. "What have you found, Sullivan?" "My wife and Alex Rivers are selling classified intelligence to a foreign buyer." Thomas laid out the evidence. "The exchange is scheduled for next week." Barnes studied the documentation, his expression grim. "We can have them arrested immediately." "No." Thomas's voice carried absolute certainty. "They'll hire expensive lawyers, exploit legal loopholes. I want them destroyed completely." "What are you suggesting?" "Let me handle this my way." Thomas's eyes held a dangerous promise. "I'll make sure they never threaten national security again." Barnes considered for a long moment. "Official channels will take 48 hours to process any action. Whatever happens in that time, I don't want to know." Thomas nodded, understanding the implicit permission. As he left the office, his phone buzzed with a message from Madeline. "Working late again tonight. Alex is coming over to help with the kids." He typed back his usual response, but his mind was already racing through scenarios. The pieces were in place. The trap was ready. All that remained was to spring it at the perfect moment. That night, Thomas sat in his car outside their house, watching Alex's BMW in the driveway. Through the windows, he could see them moving together, confident in their deception. His hands gripped the steering wheel, but his face showed no emotion. The time for patience was over. Tomorrow, he would begin dismantling their world piece by piece. They had taught him a valuable lesson about trust and betrayal. Now, he would teach them about consequences. Chapter 4. Calculated Moves. Thomas Sullivan sat across from Marcus Flynn in a quiet corner of O'Malley's bar, their conversation masked by the ambient noise. Marcus, a former Marine turned private investigator, studied the documents Thomas had laid out. "This goes deeper than just marital infidelity," Marcus said, his combat-hardened eyes scanning the surveillance photos. "Your wife and this Alex character, they're playing a dangerous game. I need your help taking them down." Thomas's voice carried the cold determination of a man with nothing left to lose. "Both of them? Completely?" Marcus leaned back, remembering the night Thomas had saved his life during their deployment. "You pull me out of that ambush in Kandahar. Whatever you need, I want them destroyed. Not just arrested, destroyed. I know someone who can help." Marcus pulled out his phone. "My sister Catherine. She's a forensic accountant with a personal score to settle with Alex Rivers." Catherine Flynn arrived 30 minutes later, her professional demeanor belied by the intensity in her eyes. "Alex Rivers ran a real estate scam that cost my clients millions. The evidence disappeared before we could prove anything." "Not this time," Thomas said. "We have resources." They spent hours planning, each bringing their unique skills to the table. Marcus outlined surveillance strategies while Catherine detailed financial attack vectors. "Here's what we know." Thomas spread out Rachel's intelligence reports. "Madeline and Alex are planning to sell classified information to foreign buyers. But that's just the visible part of their operation." Catherine's fingers danced across her laptop keyboard. "Alex's real estate empire. There are irregularities. Look at these loan applications." She turned the screen toward them. "Multiple properties purchased with forged documents. The banks would be very interested in this." "And Madeline?" Marcus asked. "Rachel's been tracking her activities." Thomas pulled up more files. "She's been stealing pharmaceutical samples from her employer, selling them on the black market. It's how they've been funding their operation." A knock at the door interrupted them. Mrs. Henderson entered, carrying a thick envelope. "I've been photographing everything strange in the neighborhood for years. Neighborhood watch, you understand?" She spread dozens of photos across the table. Times, dates, license plates, all documented. The photos revealed patterns: Alex's car parked at specific times, mysterious meetings in parking lots, packages exchanged. Mrs. Henderson had unknowingly built a surveillance record that would prove invaluable. "We attack on multiple fronts," Thomas decided. "Catherine, start with Alex's business dealings. Marcus, I need surveillance on their meetings with potential buyers. Mrs. Henderson, keep documenting everything." Catherine accessed financial databases through her forensic accounting credentials. "His real estate empire is built on sand. Look at these loan applications. The numbers don't match tax records." One anonymous tip to the right authorities. "That's just the beginning." Thomas's voice hardened. "I want them to feel what it's like to lose everything they've built. Piece by piece." Marcus outlined their surveillance strategy using military precision. "We'll need high-resolution cameras here, here, and here." He marked locations on a map. "Audio equipment in these zones. I still have contacts who can provide untraceable gear." As they planned, Thomas received a text from Madeline, "Working late tonight. Don't wait up." He showed the message to Marcus. "She's meeting Alex at the Riverside Hotel. They think they're being clever." Perfect timing. Marcus checked his equipment. "Let's get some compromising photos for their employers." The operation began that night. Marcus photographed Madeline and Alex entering the hotel, while Catherine traced money flowing through offshore accounts. Mrs. Henderson continued her meticulous documentation of neighborhood activities. Thomas maintained his routine at home, playing the role of unsuspecting husband while his team assembled the pieces of their destruction. Each morning, he kissed Madeline goodbye, knowing each kiss brought him closer to revenge. Rachel's cyber expertise proved crucial. She helped them access digital records, plant monitoring devices, and track electronic communications. "Their security is good," she admitted during one late-night session. "But not good enough." The plan took shape over weeks. Each team member had their role. Marcus handling physical surveillance, Catherine tracing financial crimes, Rachel managing digital intelligence, and Mrs. Henderson providing neighborhood documentation. "Remember," Thomas addressed his team, "we're not just gathering evidence. We're building a trap that will destroy them so completely they'll never recover. Chapter 5. The Counterstrike. The first phase of Thomas's revenge began with a series of anonymous emails to Alex's high-profile clients. Catherine had compiled irrefutable evidence of fraudulent practices, forged documents, and illegal property deals. Mr. Rivers misrepresented property values by over 50%, one email detailed. The attached documents show systematic fraud across multiple transactions. The effect was immediate. Alex's phone began ringing as clients canceled contracts and demanded investigations. His carefully constructed business reputation began crumbling. His biggest client just pulled out of a $10 million deal, Catherine reported, monitoring the fallout. 3 more are threatening legal action. Thomas watched through surveillance cameras as Alex paced his office, making frantic phone calls. The man's perfect hair was disheveled, his expensive suit wrinkled from hours of stress. "Your reputation is everything in real estate," Catherine commented. Once that's gone, Madeline's downfall began simultaneously. Thomas arranged for her employer to receive proof of her pharmaceutical theft scheme. Rachel had compiled video evidence, financial records, and witness statements. "The board of directors is meeting tomorrow," Rachel informed them. "They're suspending her license, pending investigation." The timing wasn't coincidental. As Alex's business crumbled, Madeline found herself professionally ruined and financially strained. Their relationship showed signs of stress. Marcus captured their argument outside a restaurant on video. "You promised you could handle this," Madeline hissed at Alex. "Everything's falling apart." "I'm handling it." Alex's usual smooth demeanor cracked. "Just need time. Madeline's laugh was bitter. "My career is over. The police are investigating the missing pharmaceuticals." Thomas's next move targeted their legal protection. Through careful investigation, Marcus had discovered Alex's affair with Judge Sarah Montgomery's wife, Diana. "Send these to all of them," Thomas instructed, reviewing the evidence packets. "Let's see how they handle knowing they're not special." The fallout exceeded expectations. Diana Montgomery's confrontation with her wife at a public fundraiser made local news. Judge Montgomery, facing personal scandal and professional scrutiny, had to recuse herself from any cases involving Alex's businesses. Sean O'Connor's betrayal demanded special attention. Thomas compiled evidence of his corruption, years of taking bribes, tampering with police reports, abusing his position. Internal Affairs received an anonymous tip, Rachel confirmed. They're suspending him pending investigation. The loss of police protection left Madeline and Alex exposed. Their usual meeting spots were compromised, their communications monitored, their movements tracked. "They're getting sloppy," Marcus reported, reviewing surveillance footage. "Making mistakes, meeting in public places, arguing where people can hear them." Thomas orchestrated each revelation for maximum impact. Business failures coincided with personal scandals. Legal troubles multiplied as former allies distanced themselves. Alex just tried accessing his offshore accounts, Catherine announced one evening. "They're frozen. All of them, and Madeline's pharmaceutical license? Suspended indefinitely." The board found evidence of systematic theft and black market sales. Thomas reviewed their progress with cold satisfaction. His enemies were floundering, their carefully constructed lives disintegrating under precise, relentless pressure. Chapter 6. The Unraveling Alliance. Catherine's financial investigation uncovered Madeline's secret Cayman Islands account. "She's been skimming money from their joint operation," Catherine explained, showing Thomas the records. "Alex doesn't know. Make sure he finds out," Thomas instructed. "But make it look like she got sloppy." The revelation hit Alex hard. Security cameras captured his confrontation with Madeline in her office parking lot. "You've been stealing from me?" Alex grabbed her arm. "After everything I've done for you?" Madeline yanked free. "Insurance. Did you think I trusted you completely? I know about your side deals with the Serbians." Thomas watched the footage with Rachel in their secure office. "Their partnership is fracturing," she observed. "Push harder," Thomas ordered. "I want them tearing each other apart." Rachel planted evidence suggesting Alex was planning to betray Madeline to save himself. Meanwhile, Catherine ensured Madeline discovered Alex's attempts to contact their buyers independently. The children complicated matters. Thomas documented Madeline's negligence. Late-night meetings leaving them alone, exposure to criminal elements, endangerment during intelligence-gathering activities. Jessica Kane reviewed the evidence. As a child psychologist, I'm obligated to report this to family services. The children's safety is clearly at risk. Thomas's voice remained steady. Do it. We'll need your expert testimony later. The pressure mounted. Alex, desperate to salvage his crumbling empire, attempted to make a separate deal with their buyers. Thomas ensured Madeline intercepted the communications. He's selling you out. Rachel showed Madeline the intercepted messages, planning to blame everything on you while he escapes with the money. Madeline's response was predictable. She contacted their buyers herself, offering Alex's involvement as leverage for a better deal. Thomas monitored their disintegration with calculated precision. Each revelation, each betrayal, pushed them closer to total collapse. Alex withdrew $2 million from their operational fund, Catherine reported. Booked a flight to a non-extradition country. Madeline's planning to take the children and run, Marcus added, reviewing surveillance. She's contacted a forger about new identities. Thomas allowed himself a cold smile. Everything was proceeding according to plan. His enemies, once so confident in their betrayal, were now destroying each other. Set up the final phase, he instructed his team. It's time to end this. The trap was almost ready to spring. Thomas had orchestrated their destruction perfectly, watching as their alliance crumbled under the weight of suspicion and fear. In their desperation, they made fatal mistakes. Alex's attempts to salvage his deals left electronic trails. Madeline's plans to flee created documentation. Each move brought them closer to their ultimate downfall. Thomas stood in his home office, reviewing the evidence they'd gathered. Photos, financial records, surveillance footage, a complete record of betrayal and criminality. The buyers are getting nervous, Rachel reported. They're demanding the intelligence handover happen soon. Perfect. Thomas closed the files. Let them know the meeting is set. Everything ends there. Chapter 7. The Trap Springs. The buyers confirmed the meeting, Rachel reported, her fingers moving across multiple keyboards in their makeshift command center. They're expecting the full intelligence package tonight. Thomas nodded, reviewing the surveillance feeds, showing different angles of the abandoned warehouse. Marcus had positioned his team at strategic points, while federal agents waited in concealed positions. Show me the modified files, Thomas commanded. Rachel pulled up the doctored intelligence documents. We embedded traceable markers here, and here. Anyone trying to use this information will lead us straight to their entire network. Colonel Barnes entered the command center, followed by a team of senior agents. Sullivan, final briefing in 5 minutes. Thomas activated the secure communication channel to Marcus's team. Status report, all exits covered. Marcus's voice crackled through the speaker. Catherine has the children secure with Mrs. Henderson. Emergency custody papers are in order. Surveillance shows Madeline and Alex arguing in his office. Rachel interrupted, pointing to a monitor. They're getting ready to move. Thomas watched his wife and former best friend through the camera feed. Madeline paced nervously while Alex stuffed documents into a briefcase. You're sure this buyer is legitimate? Madeline's voice came through clearly. They're paying $20 million, Alex snapped. Stop questioning everything. And the contingency plans? Private jet fueled and waiting. Once the deal's done, we're gone. The kids are my insurance policy, Madeline cut in. Thomas won't risk them getting hurt. Thomas's hand clenched, but his face remained impassive. Rachel, activate the final protocol. She typed rapidly, initiating the program they'd prepared. Across the city, digital tripwires activated. Any attempt by Madeline or Alex to access their emergency funds or contact their escape assets would alert their team instantly. Federal response teams are in position, Colonel Barnes announced. Remember, Sullivan, this is officially a sting operation. No unauthorized actions. Thomas met his superior's gaze. Of course, sir. By the book. As Barnes left, Rachel lowered her voice. The unofficial teams? Marcus has them placed. When Madeline and Alex try to run, they'll find every escape route blocked. The surveillance feeds showed Madeline and Alex leaving his office, driving separately toward the warehouse. Thomas checked his watch, 30 minutes until the scheduled meeting. The buyers are early, Rachel reported. 3 vehicles approaching from the north. Identity confirmation? Serbian arms dealers, just as we predicted. Wait, picking up radio chatter. They're suspicious about something. Thomas leaned closer to the monitor. They should be. Play the intercept. The translated radio communications revealed growing tension among the buyers. They'd detected irregularities in the sample intelligence they'd received. Perfect, Thomas said. Let them start doubting each other. Alex's car arrived first, parking near the warehouse's side entrance. Madeline followed 5 minutes later, choosing a spot with a clear view of the approach road. They're not even trying to be subtle anymore, Rachel observed. They're desperate. Thomas stood, checking his weapon. That makes them dangerous. Activate the final tracking protocols. If anyone tries to run, I want to know where. The warehouse's interior cameras showed Alex pacing, checking his phone repeatedly. Madeline stayed in her car, watching the surroundings with growing anxiety. Sir, Rachel's voice turned urgent, picking up a call from Alex to an unknown number. Patching it through. The kids are our leverage, Alex's voice came through. If things go wrong, we grab them and force Thomas to back off. Thomas's expression hardened. Rachel, send a signal to Catherine. Lock down the safe house. No one gets near those children. The buyers' vehicles converged on the warehouse. Thomas watched as heavily armed men emerged, moving with military precision. Federal teams are ready, Rachel reported. Waiting for your signal. Thomas activated his comm link. Marcus, status? All units in position. No one's getting out without us knowing. Remember, when they run, they're mine first. The feds get what's left. The next few minutes unfolded according to plan. The buyers entered the warehouse, met with Alex and Madeline. Money changed hands, documents were exchanged. Then it all went wrong. Chapter 8, Justice Served. The intelligence is compromised. The shout came through the surveillance feed in Serbian, quickly translated by Rachel's software. They're trying to trap us. Gunfire erupted inside the warehouse. Thomas watched as Alex and Madeline bolted in different directions, exactly as he predicted. Rachel, execute containment protocol. Marcus, they're running. Alex reached his car first, speeding toward what he thought was an escape route. Instead, he found Marcus's team waiting, their vehicles blocking the road. Target 1 contained, Marcus reported. Thomas focused on the feed, showing Madeline. She'd taken a different path, heading toward the location where she believed the children were hidden. Mrs. Henderson reports Madeline just called, demanding to know where the kids are, Rachel said. Good. Let her think they're still at the house. Thomas moved toward his vehicle, his movements precise and controlled. Keep the federal teams focused on the buyers. Alex and Madeline are mine. Alex's attempt to break through the blockade ended with his car spinning out of control. Marcus's team surrounded him as he tried to flee on foot. Please, Alex raised his hands. We can make a deal, like the deal you made with my wife. Thomas emerged from the shadows. Or the deal you made about my children? Thomas, listen. I've been listening for months. Thomas cut him off. To you and Madeline plotting, to you playing with my children while betraying their trust. Now you're going to listen. He nodded to Marcus, who produced a laptop. Your entire real estate empire is gone. Bank accounts frozen, property seized, clients all informed of your frauds. But that's just business. Thomas stepped closer. The DNA test showing you're the father? Already filed with family court. Your attempts to use my children as leverage? Documented and added to your criminal charges. Alex's face drained of color as Thomas detailed the complete destruction of his life. Meanwhile, Madeline had reached their house, finding it empty except for Mrs. Henderson tending her roses. Where are they? Madeline demanded. Safe from you, Mrs. Henderson replied calmly, which is more than you ever managed. Madeline's phone rang. Rachel signaled that the children were supposedly at a different location. She rushed back to her car, not realizing she was being herded exactly where Thomas wanted her. Target 2 approaching checkpoint B. Rachel's voice came through Thomas's earpiece. Federal teams have the buyers contained, Colonel Barnes reported. Moving in for arrest. Thomas left Alex with Marcus's team and drove to intercept Madeline. Her car appeared on the road ahead, speeding toward what she thought was her children's location. Road spikes deployed automatically as she approached. Her car swerved, coming to a stop near where Thomas waited. "It's over, Madeline." She emerged from the car, defiant. "You don't understand what you're doing." "I understand perfectly. 6 years of marriage, 3 children I raised as my own, all while you and Alex sold out our country. The children are mine." "No." Thomas's voice was cold. "The court documents are already filed. Your parental rights are suspended pending the investigation. Want to know what the judges will see?" He played a recording of her earlier conversation about using the children as leverage. "That's just the beginning. Everything you've done, everyone you've betrayed, it's all documented. You can't prove your pharmaceutical theft scheme? Documented. Your role in selling classified intelligence? Recorded. The offshore accounts? Traced." Madeline's composure cracked. "The buyers will kill us if this goes wrong." "The buyers are already in custody." Rachel's voice came through their earpiece. "Federal teams have secured the warehouse." Thomas watched his wife's world crumble, feeling nothing but cold satisfaction. "You tried to destroy my life. Instead, I destroyed yours. The only difference is you deserve everything that's coming." Chapter 9, Reconstruction. The prosecution's evidence is overwhelming. Thomas's lawyer confirmed 6 months later. Both Madeline and Alex are facing multiple federal charges. "Your custody of the children is secure." Thomas nodded, reviewing the final paperwork. The court proceedings had been swift and decisive, his meticulous documentation leaving no room for legal maneuvering. "Alex's real estate empire?" he asked. "Completely dismantled. The FBI's investigation uncovered even more fraud than we knew about. He'll be paying restitution for the rest of his life. What little time he has outside prison." Rachel entered his office, carrying new intelligence reports. "The compromised information led us to 3 more spy networks. The buyer's entire operation is exposed." Thomas had kept his promise to Colonel Barnes, turning the personal betrayal into a counterintelligence victory. His experience now formed the basis for new security protocols. "The children are asking about their mother," Mrs. Henderson mentioned during her regular visit. "They're too young to understand now," Thomas replied. "When they're older, they'll learn about integrity from how we live, not from what we say about their parents." The kids had adapted well. Emma excelled in school, Michael's nightmares had stopped, and baby James was growing strong. They visited Mrs. Henderson's garden daily, helping her tend the roses that had witnessed so much. "Marcus and Catherine send their regards," Rachel mentioned. "The task force they're leading has already prevented 2 similar intelligence breaches." Their relationship had evolved naturally, built on shared experiences and absolute trust. Rachel understood him in ways Madeline never had, respecting both his strength and his principles. "Sean O'Connor's trial starts next week," she added. Thomas's expression hardened. "Make sure he sees the complete evidence package. I want him to know exactly how his betrayal helped us catch everyone." The scandal had led to major reforms in military intelligence. Thomas now led the implementation of new security measures, his experience serving as a warning to others who might consider betrayal. "You never broke," Rachel observed. "Through all of it, you stayed focused on justice, not just revenge." "Revenge is emotional," Thomas replied. "Justice is about making sure no one else suffers the same betrayal." The children will grow up understanding the difference. The story of his response to betrayal had become legendary in intelligence circles, not for its brutality, but for its precision, a complete dismantling of his enemies' lives while maintaining his integrity. In his office, Thomas kept a small photo of his children, not to remember the betrayal, but to remind himself why principles matter. They would grow up learning about honor from his example, not from the cautionary tale of their biological parents. "The roses are blooming again," Mrs. Henderson mentioned during dinner. She had become the children's surrogate grandmother, providing the stability they needed. "Life always blooms again," Thomas agreed, watching Emma help her brothers with their homework. "If you're strong enough to endure the winter." His victory wasn't just in destroying his enemies, but in building something stronger from the ruins of betrayal. The children would grow up loved and protected, their lives shaped by integrity rather than deception. The final reports from prison showed both Madeline and Alex struggling to adjust to their new reality. Their attempts to bargain, to excuse their actions, had failed against the weight of Thomas's evidence. Some of the younger analysts asked me about your story today. Rachel mentioned, "What did you tell them?" That the most dangerous man isn't the one who acts on impulse, but the one who plans his justice with absolute conviction. Thomas nodded, understanding the lesson. He had remained true to his principles while ensuring those who betrayed him faced the full consequences of their actions. In the end, he had created a legacy of strength and integrity from the ashes of betrayal. His children would grow up understanding that true justice requires both strength and wisdom, and that trust, though carefully given, could still flourish in the right hands. Epilogue, a decade later. Thomas Sullivan stood at the graduation podium of the Naval Intelligence Academy, addressing the newest class of intelligence analysts. At 45, his presence commanded attention, his experience evident in the authority of his voice. The events from 10 years ago hadn't softened him. They'd refined his edge. Intelligence isn't just about gathering information, he told the graduates. It's about understanding human nature. Betrayal doesn't announce itself. It whispers. Your job is to hear those whispers before they become threats. In the audience, 15-year-old Emma sat between her brothers, Michael, 13, and James, 11. They'd grown into remarkable young people under Thomas's guidance. None of them carried the burden of their biological parents' betrayal. Instead, they'd inherited Thomas's sense of duty and Rachel's analytical mind. Rachel, now his wife of 8 years, watched from the side stage. Their marriage had grown from the ashes of betrayal into something unshakable. They'd added 2 children of their own to the family, twins Sarah and David, now 7. The blend of their family was seamless, built on truth and trust rather than deception. After the ceremony, they gathered at their home, a different house, far from the memories of betrayal. Mrs. Henderson, now in her 80s but still sharp as ever, had moved into the guest house years ago. Her roses bloomed in carefully tended beds, a reminder that beauty could grow from vigilance. Dad's speech was intense, Emma commented, helping Rachel set up for dinner. She'd grown into a striking teenager, her auburn hair the only reminder of Madeline. He never talks about those times at home. Your father believes in looking forward, Rachel replied. The past is for learning, not living. The Sullivan house had become a gathering point for their extended family of allies. Marcus Flynn, now running the most respected private security firm on the East Coast, arrived with his wife and children. His sister Catherine, having parlayed her role in exposing Alex's crimes into a position as the FBI's top forensic accountant, brought her signature detailed reports on their old enemies. Madeline's latest parole hearing was denied. Catherine mentioned over dinner, her tone professional. The board cited lack of remorse. She still claimed she was manipulated by Alex. Thomas showed no reaction. Madeline's fate had ceased to interest him years ago. She'd become a case study in his lectures on security breaches. Nothing more. Alex isn't doing much better, Marcus added. His attempt to publish a tell-all book backfired when the publishers fact-checked against our evidence. No one's interested in the lies of a convicted traitor. The children listened quietly. They knew the basic outline of their history. Thomas had never lied to them. But he'd presented it as a lesson in integrity rather than a tale of revenge. Uncle Marcus, Michael asked, is it true you're consulting for Interpol now? Marcus nodded. Your father's case revolutionized how we handle internal security threats. We've prevented dozens of similar infiltration attempts. The conversation shifted to current events. Emma's acceptance into the advanced computer science program at MIT, following in Rachel's footsteps. Michael's growing interest in international law. James's talent for pattern recognition, already drawing attention from intelligence recruiters. Colonel Barnes, now General Barnes, called Thomas regularly for consultations. The security protocols developed from Thomas's experience had become standard procedure across multiple agencies. His story was taught in counterintelligence courses, though few knew the personal details behind the case study. Later that evening, Thomas walked through his study, where a wall of commendations testified to his continued service. The betrayal that could have broken him had instead forged him into something stronger. His new position as Director of Counterintelligence Training let him shape the next generation of analysts. Rachel joined him, their years together evident in how they moved in sync. "Sean O'Connor tried to contact you again," she mentioned. His request for a reduced sentence included another apology. "File it with the others," Thomas replied. His former friend's remorse meant nothing. Sean's betrayal had earned him 15 years, of which he'd served 10. His attempts to rebuild bridges met the same stone wall, as always. The twins burst into the study, their energy filling the room. Sarah had Rachel's technical genius, while David showed Thomas's tactical mind. They represented the future he'd fought to protect. Children who would never know the shadow of betrayal. "Dad, can you help with my security systems project?" Sarah asked, holding up her laptop. Thomas smiled, a genuine expression reserved for family. "Let's see what you've designed." In the garden, Mrs. Henderson worked with James, teaching him the patience needed to cultivate roses. She'd become more than just a neighbor. She was the grandmother who had stood watch when danger threatened, who had helped protect the children when their world could have collapsed. "Your father," she told James, "understands that strength isn't about how hard you can strike. It's about making sure you never need to strike twice." The lessons of the past decade rippled through their lives in various ways. Emma had started a cybersecurity club at her high school, already showing the vigilance that had saved her father. Michael channeled his understanding of justice into debate club victories. James combined Mrs. Henderson's patience with his father's perception, seeing patterns where others saw chaos. Thomas's relationship with Rachel had deepened beyond their shared experience of exposing betrayal. They'd built something neither had thought possible, a family founded on absolute trust. Their work still involved uncovering deception, but their home remained a sanctuary of truth. Catherine's annual security audits of their lives, a habit born from the past, consistently showed the same thing: a family thriving despite, or perhaps because of, the crucible they'd endured. The children's trust funds, built from the legal settlements of Alex's fraud cases, remained untouched. Thomas wanted them to succeed on their own merits. The intelligence community had evolved based on the lessons from Thomas's case. New protocols emphasize human factors alongside technical security. The Sullivan Protocols became standard procedure for vetting intelligence personnel, especially those with access to classified information. Marcus had expanded his security firm to include psychological profiling, identifying potential betrayals before they occurred. His company's client list included government agencies and corporations who had learned from Thomas's experience that trust required verification. The twins grew up knowing only the strength of their blended family, but they absorbed its lessons nonetheless. Sarah's interest in security systems and David's fascination with strategy showed how Thomas's legacy would continue into the next generation. Rachel's cybersecurity innovations, inspired by her role in exposing Madeline and Alex's network, had revolutionized how agencies protected their data. She'd turned their methods of infiltration into a blueprint for prevention. Emma, approaching college age, had already received offers from various intelligence agencies. They recognized in her the same qualities that had helped her father turn betrayal into justice: patience, perception, and unwavering principle. Thomas maintained his position as a feared and respected figure in intelligence circles. His name became synonymous with a particular kind of justice, not swift or brutal, but inexorable and complete. Those who knew the full story understood that his greatest victory wasn't in destroying his enemies, but in building something stronger from the wreckage. The years had proven Thomas right in his approach to justice. Madeline and Alex's attempts to rebuild their lives after prison faced constant failure. Their crimes had been too thoroughly documented, their betrayals too completely exposed. They served as cautionary tales in intelligence training, examples of how completely a life could be dismantled by someone with enough patience and principle. Mrs. Henderson's roses continued to bloom, season after season, under the careful tending of 3 generations of Sullivans. She taught them all that beauty required vigilance, that strength could be gentle but must remain constant. The family's annual security briefing, a tradition born of necessity and maintained by choice, showed how far they'd come. Emma, Michael, and James had grown into their roles as guardians of their own security. The twins absorbed these lessons naturally, growing up in a household where trust and verification coexisted. Thomas's memoir, published under a security agency's seal, became required reading at intelligence academies. It detailed the systematic dismantling of a spy network without mentioning the personal betrayals that fueled his determination. That part of the story remained private, known only to those who had lived through it. Rachel's work in cybersecurity earned her international recognition, but her proudest achievement remained the family she'd helped build. She understood, better than most, how Thomas had transformed personal pain into institutional reform. The children's trust funds had grown substantially, managed by Catherine's expert hand. They would have resources but not dependence, opportunity but not entitlement. Thomas insisted they understand the value of self-reliance. Marcus's security firm became the gold standard in counterintelligence consulting, his methods shaped by the lessons learned during Thomas's systematic revenge. He remained a frequent visitor, his children growing up alongside the Sullivans, learning the same lessons about loyalty and consequence. The intelligence community had changed fundamentally. The Sullivan case taught agencies to look deeper, to understand that the greatest threats often wore friendly faces. Thomas's methodical exposure of betrayal became a template for counterintelligence operations. As Thomas watched his family thrive, he knew he'd achieved something his enemies had thought impossible. He'd turned betrayal into strength, deception into truth, and pain into purpose. His children would inherit not the weakness of their biological parents, but the strength of those who had protected them. The roses in Mrs. Henderson's garden bloomed more beautifully each year, tended by careful hands that understood both beauty and vigilance. They stood as a living reminder that the most important victory wasn't in destroying enemies, but in nurturing what mattered most. In the end, Thomas had built more than just a case against betrayal. He'd created a legacy of strength, integrity, and unwavering principle. His family, his work, and his influence on the intelligence community proved that the most complete revenge wasn't in destruction, but in building something better from the ruins of betrayal. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.